our next item is endowment fund. And what is endowment fund? This is a fund arising from the request or gift of any person, which the income from which is utilized for a specific person, for a specific purpose, right? So since the specific part is there, so like we discussed previously also, that if anything is of general nature, it will be taken to the income and expenditure account. But if it is specified of a specific nature, then it has to be kept separately to the as a liability on the liability side and in the balance sheet. Okay. So what is this amount? We will write as endowment fund is the fund arising from bequest or gift, the income of which should be utilized for a specific purpose. So since specific purpose is attached here, the nature will automatically become capital, and when the nature is capital, it should be taken to the balance sheet. On which side, children? On the liability side, because we are talking about the fund, right? So that is our endowment fund. And now what is the next item? Next item is specific receipts. Now what is specific receipts? Basically, if the NPO has organized any specific event, for example an annual dinner, right? So that specific event will have certain expenses and certain incomes. So what happens, and it's a regular phenomena again, regular nature of item. So the residual, there are two ways of doing it. Either you take the income from that specific particular event on the income side and take the expenses on the expense side, and when we will balance out the entire income and expenditure account, the balance will be taken care of by the account itself. Okay, so if there will be loss in that event, the resultant loss will be calculated by balancing when we are calculating surplus, and if there is profit, that will make an impact there. Or there is another way that we initially find out the difference. Okay, so from the receipt, if receipts are more, from the receipt we will deduct the expenses, and remaining profit can be credited to income and expenditure account. And on the other hand, if expenses are more for that particular specific item I am talking about, so for that specific item, if expenses are more and incomes are less, then the loss can be taken on the debit side of income and expenditure account. So they can be annual dinner, they can be nukkad drama, they can be different specific items, right? So since again it is of regular nature, it should be taken to income and expenditure account. So in the meaning, what we will write, this is the receipts from a special event, the expenses of which should be deducted from the receipts, and the profit is credited to income and expenditure account. Okay, so nature clearly is revenue nature, and we are taking it to income and expenditure account. And what do we do with this? We credit this. Okay, that's it. So that is your specific receipt. Okay, now the next item is grants, government grants. As you know, children, one of the major sources of funds for the NPOs is grant also, government grants they get, right? So now grants is the amount that they get from the government to promote the purpose, the objective for which the NPO has been formed. And what do we do with this? Is it of capital nature or revenue nature? Definitely it is of revenue nature because it's again a regular feature. Okay, so if nothing has been specified about the reason why this grant has been provided, means whether it is of, it's of a general nature, then it should be taken to income and expenditure account. But if it is of specific nature, if it has been specified that this grant is to be taken care of for this purpose only, then it will be capitalized. That means it will be taken to the balance sheet. Okay, so let's first of all write the meaning. Grant, amount received by the NPO under any scheme of government. Okay, so if it is of general nature, there can be two parts of it. First one is general grant. General grant means they have not specified the reason for which it will be utilized, right? So general grant means income and expenditure account credited because income. Okay, but if it is specific grant means for any particular purpose, then it should be capitalized. That means balance sheet, and it will be taken on the liability side. Okay, that is our grant. And similar is the next item, that is donation. For donation also the treatment is similar, and it is the source for the NPO. What it is? Amount received as donation, means simply the amount which has been given, donated by some organization, government or anybody to the NPO. That is one of the funds. Okay, and again two type of it can be. It can be if it is of general nature. If it is general, then it will be of revenue nature. It will be considered of revenue nature and taken to income and expenditure account, and on which side? Credit side. But if it is of specific nature, that means it can be utilized for that specific purpose. In that case, it will be considered as capital nature and will be taken to the balance sheet. Which side, children? Liability, because it is a capital receipt. Money is coming in the NPO, right? I hope till now all the terms are clear to you all. Shall we proceed further? We have just a few of them left. Okay, so what is the next one? Next one is sale of old assets. Sale of old assets. So what is happening in this term, children? Name is clear. Sale of old asset. We are selling the assets, fixed assets, right? So the selling of fixed assets won't make a difference on income and expenditure account, right? What will happen? That the asset value will reduce, and that will make an impact on the balance sheet. The book value of the asset will reduce in the balance sheet. But on the transaction, if there is any profit or loss, then it should be taken in the surplus or deficit calculation of the NPO. So it will be taken to income and expenditure account, right? So what do? We will take sale of old asset, meaning is clear only. So we will straight away start with the treatment. So the book value will be deducted from the asset in the balance sheet, and the profit or loss on sale will be taken to income and expenditure account. So if there is profit on sale, it will be taken on the credit side. If there is loss on sale, it will be taken on the debit side. Okay children, so now let us take up the next item. And what is the next item now? Sale of old sports material. So that is number 10, sale of old sports material. So again similarly to our previous point, then when it is sale of old assets, similarly profit or loss will be calculated. If there is profit, it will be taken to income and expenditure account on the credit side. If it is a loss, it will be taken on the debit side, right? And apart from that, for like say sports material, one more items can be connected with. What is that? That is the amount consumed during the year. For that we did a detailed calculation that how to calculate amount consumed during the year. We start with the amount paid, and then in that we adjust the outstandings and prepaids, beginning of the year, end of the year, and then we adjust the opening closing stocks, and we reach on the final amount consumed during the year. So that needs to be considered in the income and expenditure account, and profit or loss also will go to the income and expenditure account. So here amount consumed during the year will be debited to income and expenditure account. And what is the next part? The profit or loss on sale of old sports equipment will also be taken to income and expenditure account according to their nature. If it is profit, then credited. If it is loss, then debited. Okay. What is the next item, children? Next item will be here legacy. What is a legacy? You must be having an idea of this term, legacy. कहीं तो सुना होता है ये term. What is a legacy? Legacy basically is the amount given by the will of a person. Amount received out of the will of a deceased person. Okay, so that amount, again, the nature is which kind? The nature is non-recurring. It's not happening every year again and again, right? So it will be taken to the balance sheet, liability side. So nature is capital and taken to the balance sheet, liability side. Right? What's the next item? The next item and the last item is purchase or sale of old newspapers and periodicals. Right? So purchase and sale of newspapers and periodicals. What are periodicals, children? The magazines, weekly and quarterly, half yearly, right? Annually. So purchase and sale of newspaper and periodicals, again it is of regular nature, so it will be taken to income and expenditure account. If it is a sale, it will result in income, it will be credited to income and expenditure account, and if it is purchase, it will result in expense, and that will be debited to income and expenditure account. Okay, so purchase will be debited to income and expenditure because it is of revenue nature. And children, don't get confused by this term that I am talking about debited, purchase, expense, and then I am saying revenue, right? Expense and revenue, both, how they can come together here. because this revenue means regular or recurring nature. Okay, this revenue doesn't mean income. Revenue nature means regular nature, recurring nature, happening again and again and again, right? So the expense which is happening again and again is revenue nature or regular nature of expense. So it should be debited to income and expenditure account. And if it is sale of old periodicals, okay, so old newspapers and periodicals can be sold also, children. So in that case, it will result in income. So it will be credited to income and expenditure account. So I hope all the terms are clear to you all, right? So are we good to proceed for income and expenditure account now? So we will now understand the meaning of income and expenditure account, the format of income and expenditure account, the features of it, and we will see how to prepare it. Okay, so let's start the next topic.